Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. We are going to be live for the next 90 minutes talking about how you can actually create wealth for yourself, your family, and your future. The future of your family, the future of the success for you is all about learning and studying. If you want to be a master of money, you got to study money. You want to be a master of business, you got to study business. Business is not getting any easier. You've got to get better at business. It's pretty simple when we think about how we actually get better, and that is that we keep learning, we keep growing, and we keep studying. If you're on the chat today, if you're on live, can you just type in where you're at so we know where we're traveling to across the world today on what you are watching? So I'm going to dive straight into the agenda of today so that we can get moving and learning together. First thing that we got to do is understand where we're headed. So in the time that we have together today, I'm going to focus on three main things. One, when it comes to the subject of money and creating wealth, give you the confidence that you need to take the actions. You know, a lot of people know what to do. They're just not actually doing it. Number two, give you the clarity that you need to make sure that you actually can act, do what you need to do to take those steps. And number three, find a way to get your true potential out there into the universe. Ultimately, though, what I need from you is to understand this. If we're not here for anything other than helping you make more money in your business, in your investing, then you get what I am all about. Billionaire in training, that's the aim of the game. That's what we're aiming for. So here's what I need from you. I need from you to act on what you learned today. So during this, I'm going to get you to ask questions. I'm going to get you to act. I'm going to get you to give me answers, whatever it is you can do to make sure that you're getting the most out of this event. You know, ultimately, when it comes down to the subject of success, and this guy's not a bad example of it, Mr. Buffett, well, you only have to do a very few things right in your life so long as you don't do too many things wrong. That the photo at the top there is him in his poker shirt. I got to play poker with him at one of the NetJets events. Phenomenal man, doing amazing things, but he's so right. We just got to get to it. So will you act on what you learn here today? That is the question. We've got to make sure that you take action and do what needs to be done. So how are you going to join in? How are you going to get that thing happening? Type in where you're at would be a fantastic start. And if you get the agreement that you will take action on this, then type in the word yes or some version of the word yes. I love it if you're creative. Just say right-o, right on. But we need to get you taking action if we're to get the results that we want. So I want to give you a quick background. How did I get here? I want to take my last 30 years of running companies, building companies, and show it to you in 3 minutes or less. 30 years ago, I met this guy, Rob Kiyosaki, and he invited me to become a teacher. Obviously, if you take a look there, you'll notice Keith Cunningham, Dolph DeRoos, Blair Singer, Bill Shopoff, John Burley, Kim Kiyosaki, DC Cordova, some of the greatest teachers around the subject of money and growth and how you actually do that. Well, after Robert asked me to teach, I got a bug for teaching. I actually fell in love with it. I started Action Coach now 31 years ago, or almost this August will be 31 years ago. And we've built it across the world right now to do hundreds of millions a year and do a phenomenal job of coaching business people all across the world. But it started with one thought: world abundance through business re-education. Can I create a world, an abundant world, to do that? Well, luckily for you and luckily for me, I've been doing this 30 years. Yes, that's right, 30 years of teaching. But what that means is it's not just one generation of success. You'll see that top photograph up there. That's Barb and Ford Kais. Well, they started with me many moons ago. Now their daughter, Juliette, runs the organization for them. And so by doing this for 30 years, you can see it's not just something I started last month. This is 30 years of teaching and educating people as to how to grow their business. It's a phenomenal thing to be able to get to be that far in doing what we do. So how do we get to it? Hang on, what's going on? PowerPoint is deciding not to play ball with me. Let's go, PowerPoint. So where do we go to? Well, 30 years of me teaching means that not only have I had the ability to learn, but the teaching has been done live most of the time. And hence people pay good money for it and great money for it. People pay large amounts of money for it. Because if you're teaching and you're flying around the world, often I've said to people, hey, you don't actually have to pay me to speak. You have to pay me to get on an airplane, fly to another part of the world. You have to pay me to travel around the world and leave my family, sort of thing. So all of that teaching has led to a point of saying, okay, what is it that I want to do with this? Well, that's why I'm here to be with you today. And we can use technology. I can be anywhere in the world at any time in the world, and you get to view and learn this stuff for free. So that's pretty phenomenal, the way that the world has shifted because of the way that we're doing things. I mean, that to me is a big part of the success factor of what it is that we get to do. And specifically the success factor of, you know, helping you grow without you having to travel around the world to a seminar. You can grow from the comfort of your own home. You can watch it on YouTube, Facebook, you name it. You can get to learn this stuff from wherever it is that you want to be, so that you get the results that you want without having to go and do a whole bunch of different things. Now, what does that actually mean? Let me just come off of the thing. I believe that the majority of people who really want to have massive success in their life are very clear around the fact that they have to learn. You have to learn, you have to grow, you have to get better at what you do, and hence why you're here, I'm guessing. If you're here, it's because you understand the fact that learning and growing is a massive part of your success. So for me, 30 years of traveling and teaching has not only been 30 years of traveling and teaching, it's also been 30 years of learning. So let me just go back to the screen. If I sit down and I say to you, okay, how much is it that needs to learn? Well, there is definitely an approach to this that makes it easier for you, easier for me. And that approach is a relatively simple theory. And that is this: if you can learn the system of those who've gone before you, if you can understand the system of where it is, how it is, etc., that you can get the results. Like John's been with me since 2005. Today, his company is doing hundreds of millions. His net worth is ridiculously fun. Obviously, that's all of his cars and things. But you get to learn this stuff. Now, don't think it'll happen overnight. So why did I build this? So why am I telling you this? Well, during COVID, I tried to teach everyone from my house, right? I literally stole my daughter's ring light. I have 5 kids, so one of them loves that whole selfie thing. Anyway, I built myself a TV studio. Yeah, I took the family to Mexico for my birthday because we couldn't do big celebration, but I got to build a TV studio. Now, why is that important to you? Because it means that you get to learn. So here's the webinar for today. Number 1, I'm going to teach you about the formula for success. Number 2, I'm going to teach you about how you grow as an entrepreneur, what it is you need to do. Number 3, we're going to focus on how we actually build wealth using business. Number 4, we're going to focus on how you build wealth in real estate. But before we get into this, I want to ask you a simple question. Well, it's not that simple, actually, if you think about it. Are you willing to learn and grow into your goals? Like if you've got massive goals, how do you learn and grow into them? Because there's a simple reality. If you set a goal, by nature, you can't achieve it. How do you know you can't achieve it? Because you set it as a goal. The reason you set it as a goal is because you wanted to learn, how do I achieve this thing? By the way, if you have any questions at any point in time, please throw them into the chat window. Happy to take questions at any point in time. So what does that actually mean? If the 80-20 rule still exists, meaning that 80% of your results come from 20% of the things you do, you've got to learn before you earn. In other words, until you increase your knowledge, you can't increase your income or your wealth. And the final point here I'm going to cover off during today's training, the millionaire versus billionaire. Why do I call this billionaire in training rather than just millionaire in training? Let's take an examination of it. Okay. So I mentioned how much I'd taught for 30 years. I just want to mention why learning is so important. Some of my mentors, Jeffrey Gitomer, Scotty McCain, Phil Nosworthy, Mari was on my podcast the other day. If you haven't jumped on the Big Success podcast, do that. Stedman Graham, definitely Ivan Meisner, Michael Port, Marshall Goldsmith, another buddy of mine, Keith Cunningham. And luckily enough for me, not only do I get to have these people as mentors, that was actually us coaching at the World Bank with Dr. Jim Kim, who was the CEO or the head of the president of the World Bank, sorry. I get to build, so now I've built another brand, BizX, which is where we run conferences all around the world with the best of the best speakers. So you think about it, if I bring in the best of the best speakers, then I can keep learning from them. My original mentors, Paul Dunn and Dame DC Cordova, two of the best of the best. Actually, that was DC with me at our 29th birthday in Hawaii for the company. And Paul was there at my 30th birthday for the company last year in Thailand. Shared the stages with them all, shared the stages with many of them, got to learn with them, been interviewed by them. The best of the best come to me for advice. So what is the challenge I have with you here today? My challenge is pretty dang simple. I've been doing this stuff for 30 years. Trying to teach it to you in the 90 minutes that we have together here today is going to be a challenge. So how do I do that? Well, my natural talent in life is to simplify, okay? My natural talent is to create a model that allows you to learn what we're doing, and that model is what tells you what the next step is. So I'm going to give you my models here today of how you actually can go and achieve this level of success for you. What is it that has to happen so you can achieve the level of success that you want? Well, let's take a look at the system first and foremost. The Billionaire in Training system. What is it all about? Well, I wrote this. I started this whole movement 17 years ago with my book, Billionaire in Training. Luckily enough, it's been printed all across the world and sold, I don't know how many copies. I don't even keep track anymore. But here's the thing from it. It teaches you about generational wealth. How do you have to grow to create generational wealth? Now you're placed in the old General Schwarzkopf, when placed in command, take charge. Well, I'm placing you in command of your learning. So you now have to take charge of becoming a billionaire in training. So I'm going to start where I promised, with the success formula. Lots of study it took me to work this one out. For years and years, I thought that I was following the process. And then when I stumbled across this formula or created this formula, I was actually teaching on the Gold Coast in Australia. And I started saying something. I said, well, this is how I think formula of success works. And as I said it, I'm standing there going, wow, that's amazing. I wrote it down on the thing and hey, presto. This is how we create success. Dreams and goals become a reality when we follow this formula. The wealth becomes a reality when we follow this formula. So here's how it works. I'm going to take you through it step by step. Your dreams are multiplied by your goals. So dreams are things that are like 10 to 20 years out. Your goals are things that are current, okay? So you think of your goals as things that are 5 years back to today type thing. Daily goals, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual, 3, 5 year goals. They're the goals. They've got a time frame on them. They're inside 5 years. You're learning. So once you set a goal, the reason for setting the goal is not to go, how do I do that? The reason for setting the goal is to determine what you need to learn. So if I set a goal of running a marathon, then I'd work out, okay, what do I need to learn, practice, and do to run a marathon? If I set a goal of doubling my business, then what do I have to read, learn, study, and do to double my business type thing? So dreams turn into goals. Goals determine your learning. From your learning, you then write the plan. Now, if you can't write the plan, it means you need to do more learning. If you've got a goal of doubling your business and you go, well, I don't know how to do that, then great. You've got a job to do right now. Your job is to go and make sure that you actually write the plan from your learning. If you don't do new learning, your plan basically says do the same stuff we used to do, just do more of it, which means you'll never get to the new goal, okay? From your plans, then you take action, and that, my friend, equals your success, okay? By the way, again, any questions you got, type them in. Any comments that you got, type them in. We will make sure that we get to answer as many of them as fast as we can. If we miss them during the event, please make sure that you come back and look. We will answer them after the event as best we can. So what does that mean then? All right, we've got the formula for success. You got to determine what you want to have, and then you get to work out what you need to do. We'll add to that this formula, okay? The formula is B times do equals have. Again, it works forward, but it also works backwards. Once you know what you want to have, you can work backwards to what you need to do. Once you know what you need to do, you can work backwards to who do I need to become. Once you work out, see, it's the B words, you're a human being, behaviors, beliefs, all of those things that are part of you. Once you determine how you get there, then hey presto, everyone can get there with you type thing. If you work on you, as I said, the first thing I said to you here today, life doesn't get easier, you've got to get better. Business doesn't get easier, you've got to get better. The more you learn, the more you will earn is a pretty simple thing. So, if you take your time to determine your dreams and your goals, that's phenomenal. Sit down, take that time, work with one of my coaches, do whatever you need to do to work out what are my dreams and goals. But then you have to make a commitment, and your commitment needs to be this. You need to commit to yourself that you will grow. See, I go back to many years ago. I was 16. I met Mr. Jim Rohn, E. James Rohn. Mr. Rohn said, you know, you can do whatever you want if you set the goal and you do the learning and you get to work. And so I got to work on growing me. I grew me. See, when I set the goals, I couldn't achieve it. But when I kept growing, I grew into the person that could achieve that goal. And that's what I want for you here today. Sir Richard, he quoted me in his blog one time that I came off stage in Dublin. That was him going on stage as I came off. We worked out we're wearing the exact same outfits, but he had the better hair. Definitely the hair is the winner. But as he said, if someone offers you an amazing opportunity and you're not sure you can do it, say yes and then get to work learning. Learning is the key to it succeeding. So how does this ladder work? Well, I'm going to share with you this ladder that you will grow up, okay? We have to grow through this if we want to create the serious wealth for ourselves. Now, I mentioned it earlier. What's the difference between a billionaire and a millionaire? In most cases, the millionaire is someone who is creating a great income. The billionaire is someone who is capitalizing on their work. There's a big difference between the two. Income versus capitalization. And we'll get to more on that in the next, what do we got? Still about an hour together here today. So this billionaire in training ladder, you start out at level -1, okay? Level -1, you are the student. Why is a student minus? Because it costs money to be a student. Whether it's society paying for it or whether it's your parents or whether it's you paying for it, it costs money to be a student. Now, what is your role as a student? Your role is you're an apprentice employee. Each level is like an apprenticeship to the next level. As an apprentice employee, your job is to learn how to be a good employee, what you need to do to get a job and how you need to hold that job. So it's important that we do that. Now, from there, what we do is we step up to the level of employee. Now, again, you're an apprentice at this level. Why you have a job? You don't have a job to earn. You have a job to learn. Yes, you want to earn enough money to pay your bills and do that stuff. But the reason you get a job is how much you can learn from that job. Okay, so take that into account. How do you learn more is more important than just how much you earn. So you're an apprentice business owner, if that makes sense. So your goal is to move from employee to self-employed. If you can move from employee to self-employed, then hey presto, excuse me, hey presto, you're now in charge of your own income, okay? You can make as much as you want because you're in business for yourself. Now, at self-employed, again, you're an apprentice. You've got a lot to learn. Now, if you didn't learn it in your job, like, why do I love you having a job at some point? Because you get paid to learn. That's the reason you have a job. Getting paid to learn is what the job is all about. So if you had a job in sales, fantastic. When you go into business for yourself, you don't need to learn sales. You've already learned it. Someone else paid you to learn sales, if that makes sense. Marketing is purchasing, leasing, contracts, you name it. If you learned it working for someone else, fantastic. Then when you get into business for yourself, it costs you less because someone else paid you to learn that material. Now, from self-employed, and by the way, it's self-employed, you're kind of like on a seesaw, right? find the work, do the work, find the work, do the work, find the work, do the work. That's the seesaw that you're on. Well, you get from self-employed, once you get good at that, you employ some other people. Now, in the beginning, they don't work for you. In the beginning, you work for them. What do I mean by that? Well, you've got to take some of the money you were using before to pay them a salary, to pay them a wage, okay? So in the beginning, because the business isn't ready yet, but you've still got to do it, okay? And also you've still got a lot to learn. At manager, you're an apprentice again. See, at manager, you got to learn everything from recruiting, training, coaching, mentoring, systems, cash flow, budgeting, planning, all the different aspects that are there to learn. And this is the thing, the hardest part of growing a business is not the doing work, it's the learning work, the knowledge that you have to acquire. Now, ultimately, where do you want to get to? You want to get to the point where you own a business. Now, let me give you my definition of a business. In fact, you probably want to write this down. My definition of a business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. If you have to be there, it's not a business, okay? It has to run without you for it to be a business. Ultimately, most people don't build a business. They build a job or a trap for themselves, okay? Your goal is to build something that will run without you so it makes money whether you work or not. Now, it doesn't have to run perfectly without you, but it has to be able to let you at least go on vacation. It has to at least allow you to take days off here and there. It has to run without you the vast majority. Now, ultimately, if you want to sell it, it needs to run without you, okay? That's the ideal point. So from owner, we then learn how to move up to investor, okay? So, and this is the area, level 4 here is where we're going to spend most of our time today. If you want to check out my other webinars, there's one called the 6 Steps to a Massive Business. That covers that bottom half there, okay? So check out that webinar on any of my channels and you'll be able to go through that one, okay? If you can't find it on the channel, just go to YouTube. It's always on YouTube right there. In one of the front playlists about how to grow your business. So as an investor, you're looking at learning how to invest. So you're making money from your business. How do I invest that money? And you got to learn to invest in 3 things: business, real estate, and shares. That's essentially the 3 categories of investments, okay? Now, there's different derivatives of each, or different areas of business, different areas of real estate, different areas of share market, but that's essentially what we've got to learn to invest in. As an investor, you're investing your money into deals. Ultimately, though, where we move to is level 5, that is the entrepreneur. At level 5 entrepreneur, what's happening is you've moved to a place where now you're building deals that other people invest their money into, okay? So if it's in business, you might build a franchise that people buy a franchise. You might take a company, you might in real estate do a development that people buy properties from you type thing. But that's the final level where we go to for the billionaire in training, okay? So many times I've heard it said, you'll either build your own dreams or you'll work for someone else who's building theirs. Not necessarily agree to that all the time, because a lot of the times you can work for someone else, but you're making great money and you're investing it in building your own wealth on the side. But here's the thing. If you can learn it, you can do it. If you can learn about money, then you can become a master of money. But it's not something you learn in a day or a week or a month. It takes time to learn to master money. It takes time to build wealth. Now, luckily enough, I served on the board with Franny Drescher of her charity Cancer Schmancer for a couple of years. But as she says, if we don't empower ourselves with knowledge, then we're going to be led down a garden path. Learning is the fundamental behind all of this stuff. Now, I say here 10 years is faster than ever. How does this happen? Well, oftentimes when I meet someone, they'll ask me, what do you do? And I'll say, well, I teach about business and money and creating wealth. And they'll always ask me a dumb question. Can you teach me to get rich quick? It's a great question if you leave the word quick off, okay? But here's the thing, is most people go, well, 10 years isn't fast enough. I'm like, but it takes 10 years. And they're like, well, I wanted to go faster than that. So, well, listen, remind yourself of this. 10 years is faster than never. Be happy with the fact that it takes 10 years. Why? There's an economic cycle you've got to go through to build real wealth. If you don't go through the full economic cycle, you can't build real wealth. Okay, there's the boom and bust and all of those sorts of things. But also, we've got to understand the amount of time it takes to learn. There's a big thing in it that market cycle happens. And I'll go into the market cycle in just a moment. But if we follow the trend and understand when the market is in summer or when it's in fall, we sit here and we had during the COVID or the viral times of the pandemic, we had a crash in the market in some ways. Okay, so we had a fall in certain areas of the market, and it's led us into this economic winter. We've got high inflation, but there's not really an economic winter because there's no low employment and housing prices are going up and there's plenty of cash. So it's a really weird part of the cycle. But at some point, spring will come back again and businesses will start booming again, and the stock market will boom and all of these things, and we'll start to see that stuff really going forward. The stock market will come first. When is that cycle? It really depends on the election in the US at the end of this year as to when that cycle will kick in. But spring will happen, summer will happen, and at the end of that economic summer, and these are usually a 7 to 10 year cycle, okay, somewhere in that bracket if you look historically at the numbers. Now, philosophically, there's one thing you have to understand to build real wealth, okay? It is very simple, very plain. If I give you my definition of this will give you your understanding of where real wealth comes in, okay? Real wealth comes from a simple thing called leverage. Now, my definition of the word leverage is pretty dang simple. Do the work once, get paid forever. Here's an example. This is my latest book. It's called Raise Your Hand Marketing. Buy it now, jump on Amazon, do yourself a favor. If you need more customers, get more conversations, which leads to more customers. Here's the key. I wrote the book how many times? Once. How long will I get paid for the book? Forever. I buy a piece of real estate. How long will I get paid? Forever. I build a business that works so I don't have to. It'll run, it'll make money for at least long term, maybe forever type thing. That's what we're looking to do. Get paid while we're asleep is essentially the thing. So my question to you is, how fast can you learn money? Can you learn money before we hit the next boom cycle? If you were to invest the next 12 months learning, can you do that and commit yourself to learning enough so that you actually are ready for the next boom cycle? That's got to be the biggest priority for money for you. Learn enough so you can write your plan. Education, the single most powerful tool to help people pull themselves out of poverty and change their life trajectory. And you don't have to be in poverty to need education, but you have to want to learn. You have to want to grow type thing. So 2 sides to money we're going to examine today, okay? And it's not just about having a high income, because both of these things are really important for your future. Living paycheck, even if you're making $1 million a month, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, like if you're not putting any of it away, it doesn't make sense. If you get one of these right, income or assets, that's fantastic. But to be financially free, you got to get both of them right. You got to have a very solid income. You got to invest enough to build great assets. So your income buy your assets. Hey, presto, that's the way this thing works. All right. So where does that come together? Let's start with understanding how money works, okay? Think of this as a timeline of your life. At the bottom of the page here is the beginning of your life, okay? And you make 100%. So this line goes right across to the side here. You're making 100% of your money by working, okay? You work hard, you work hard, you work hard. Now you put some of it away, you put some of it away, you invest some, you invest some, you invest, you invest, you invest. Eventually, where you want to be is that the majority of your money comes from managing the money you've already made. Now, here's the challenge. What do most people do? As soon as they get a pay rise, they get an expense rise. If you get a pay rise, you should get an investment rise, not a costs rise sort of thing. So, oh, I got a pay rise. Let me go and buy a boat. Well, you don't have enough money to buy the boat. Yeah, but I can lend the money to buy the boat. So you're double worse, and you're worse off twice by borrowing, paying interest, and buying something you can't afford. It's crazy the way people do this sort of stuff. You've got to be able to learn. Phase 1 of money is to learn how to make money. Phase 2 of money is to learn how to manage money. Now, you don't just need to learn how to make enough to pay the bills. You need to learn how to make enough that you are paying the bills and investing a substantial amount. Now, what amount is that? Well, I teach my kids they should be investing 50% of what they make. Now, some people say to me, but Brad, I can't live off of 50% of what I make. Well, one or two options. Make more or spend less. Okay, you used to live off of half of what you make now. So maybe you can get back to 80% of what you make now. And maybe you've got to learn how to make more. And that's part of what we're going to discuss here today. Also, I've got 18 books. Hit Amazon, buy all of them. Start reading, start studying. So side one of money, we talked about it, income or cash flow is the term I like to use in this thing, okay? So you're building your cash flow. You start down the bottom here with an active income, okay? What is an active income? It's income that you have to go to work for, okay? If you go to work, the income comes in. If you don't go to work, the income doesn't come in. That's what we're looking at with active income. Now, you want to build up a large active income. People are like, oh, you know, I'm making 80,000 a year. No, you want to build up $500,000, $250,000, $1 million a year in active income. People are like, I don't know how to do that. It's called your own business, okay? So we'll get more into that in just a little while. Now, from an active income, we want to invest a part of our money so that part of our money goes over to passive income, whether it's share market, whether it's real estate, whether it's other businesses, whatever it is that you're investing in so that it starts to breed income. Now, that money, as it compounds, makes more and more money. And as Albert Einstein said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, but you've got to give it the time to do that. You know, I know with my kids, I talk to them about starting their investment fund as soon as they possibly can. You're better off to start at 15 with a small amount of money than you are to wait till you're 30 when you've got a large amount of money. Start early, start small is the thing. I don't care what age you are today, you better start today. Even if it is nothing more than putting aside some money in an index fund, okay? But anyway, you go and study that. Talk to your financial planner about it. If you don't have a financial advisor, go interview a couple of financial advisors. So active income to passive income, then ultimately we want to build a massive income, all right? We want to build a large, and that's where I suggest business is where we do the best. If you're already in business, fantastic. If you're already working with one of my team at Action Coach, even better, okay? If you're not working with one of the team at Action Coach, just jump on actioncoach.com and make sure you hit that find a coach button. Now, the second side to money is the capital. This is where wealth is created, okay? So we start out as a retail investor. What does that mean? Well, when you don't know a lot, you're basically starting at retail, okay? Is retail investing better than no investing? By far better than no investing. Absolutely for certain it is. From retail, as you build up your wealth and you build up your knowledge, you can move into wholesale investing. What wholesale investing means is that you're making a profit as at the purchase, all right? So when you make the purchase, you're doing it, you're buying better than it's worth in the market, so you're making good money up front. Finally, what we want to learn in capital is not just how to invest our own money, but how to create deals and create capital where other people will bring their capital to the deal. So if you commit yourself to doing this, you commit yourself to learning all of these phases, commit to a large income, to a passive income, commit to a plan of learning what it takes to build wealth for generations to come, then you and me are going to hang out together a bunch and you're going to learn a whole bunch. One of my great friends, Sharon Lecter, that's her and her husband, Michael, in my suite of the football down in Arizona, where they're based. She's written all these books. Like she was the author with Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, #1 best-selling author around the subject of finance that there ever was. Money is a life skill. And as parents, grandparents, interested adults, it's up to us to make sure our children are prepared for the financial world they're going to face. Well, I wrote a book called The Wealth Coach, right? And I wrote it for kids. Specifically, I wrote it for my kids so that they could learn this stuff. But hey, presto, what I found out was that to be a great adult, you've got to read it first before you give it to your kids. You can't teach them what you don't know yourself. So thinking about your decision, why would I commit to this? Why would I aim for this? Well, I've found 3 levels of goals in most of my teaching. Level 1 goal is an away goal, meaning that it's getting yourself out of a negative. Okay, so if you think of getting yourself out of a negative, if I can be real blunt about this, getting yourself out of a negative is kind of like, I don't want to be overweight, or I don't want to be broke, or I don't want to be working 80 hours a week sort of thing. It's the getting out of a negative situation. When I was a young man, I remember back when I decided I was going to actually take control of my life, I think I was 13 years of age. And we moved from Darwin in Australia to Adelaide in South Australia. And Darwin's a very hot, humid climate, or a very hot tropical climate. So it's either very dry or very humid. Well, we moved to Adelaide. And the interesting thing for me was that you went from wearing shorts all the time to wearing long pants. It was a very cold winter. And I'll age myself here. The cool thing at the time was Levi's 501 jeans, right? And my mom didn't believe in what was cool. She believed in what we could afford. And what we could afford was corduroy pants from Kmart. And I'm not sure if you've ever worn corduroy pants, but they definitely make a sound when you walk. Well, what my mom didn't realize is that I'm the new kid in school. I've always been tall, which means I was a tall, lanky 13-year-old boy. And the new kid. So, of course, that means we got in, got teased, which meant I got in a fight. I got in a fight, beat the snot out of this kid. I had two brothers, so we knew how to do that. And so I got sent to the principal's office. They yell at me. My mom yells at me. She takes me home, yells at me, go to your room, wait till your father gets home. I blamed the whole negative situation in my head on those jeans. And I said to myself, I will never not have enough money to buy what I want again. I went and got a paper route to start. I went and did jobs. I went and did anything I could to make money to buy what I wanted. But that was an away goal. It wasn't until I was 16 years old when I met Mr. Rohn that I learned to set towards goals. And what Mr. Rohn taught me is that you don't say, I don't want to be overweight. You say something like, I want to be able to run 5 miles 3 days a week. It's not, I don't want to work 80 hours. I want to be working 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, or 4 days a week sort of thing. That's how we get to this whole thing of learning and growing and becoming better at what it is we do. Just checking in here, making sure you're still with me and learning and growing with this stuff. Type into the chat window where you're at. We will keep learning and growing together. So what's the third layer of goals? It's the legacy goals. Okay, so what is a legacy goal? A legacy goal is where it means it's about more than you. Okay, so when I started my company, Action Coach, I wrote the legacy goal of world abundance through business re-education. It wasn't about building just for me. It was about building an abundant world out there, doing more than just yourself. So away goals, towards goals, and finally, that massive legacy goals of making a difference on the planet. So living your purpose, your why, okay? If we can commit to your dreams and goals, then you can make them a reality. If you step up and you say, I'm going to do this, and not just leave a legacy, but live my legacy, it's got to start today. Now, it takes time to learn money. It takes time to master money, and eventually you will get there. This young man, talk about committed, crazy, a little bit crazy, but definitely committed to his goals. Always look to learn. Learning something new is a great feeling, a feeling of progress. The more you seek the uncomfortable, the more you will become comfortable. Like, to think of this young man, crazy young kid, grew up in Ireland, now built a multi-$100 million whiskey brand all across the world, famous everywhere, TV star, movie star now. These are some of the things that you can do if you set your mind to it, sort of thing. So let's dive into what is the secret behind real wealth, okay? And when I look at the secret behind real wealth, it's about getting yourself to understand the playing field, okay? What is the playing field that venture capitalists operate on? What is the playing field that they do? It's called capitalization, okay? What does that mean? It means building an asset, then selling the asset, capitalizing up. So that's why we do the things we do. I'm going to talk business and real estate here with you today and help you understand what that actually means. So in business, we have a simple formula. We buy them, we build them, we sell them. We buy a business that may be a good business, but only operating in one location, or it's an average business that needs fixing and can be managed and built faster and better. We build that business into a great thing, and then we sell it to someone else, okay? So that's the formula for how wealth is created in business. If you look at any majors, that's what they do. They buy an asset that they can add value to, they build it, and therefore it's valued much higher. People like Warren Buffett, they don't sell the companies, but they do. They're a publicly traded company, so the shares are sold, not the actual company is sold, if that makes sense, the distinction between the two. So I'm going to give you two things. If you want to succeed in wealth, you've got to have a set of rules, and you got to pick your niche, okay, or niche, depending upon where you're at in the world. So what do I mean by rules? Rules are what you will do and won't do. I will invest if it meets these criteria. I will not invest if these things are present. Now, here's the challenge for a lot of people. They say, Brad, I don't know what rules I should follow. And I say, here's the thing. Until you've read enough, studied enough, learned enough to actually learn the rules that you want and define your own rules. And by the way, do you need goals to define rules? Yes, you need to know where you're going in order to do that. I have a program called 30X Wealth where I actually teach you to write a wealth plan for you and your family. Over 30 days, you build your family's wealth plan. I have a 30-day business plan one and a 30-day life plan one. If you want to build the 30-day business plan or the 30-day life plan or the 30-day wealth plan, go for your life. I think it's a phenomenal thing. I'll get the team. Actually, team, can we put a link into those programs somewhere on the chat window? That would be fantastic. So those who want it can dive in and get it. Okay, so my rules for buying a business. Business rule number one, the business is surviving despite itself, okay? In most cases, the current people running the business don't really know what they're doing, if that makes sense. In most cases, the business is running and making money, and hey presto, how does it get to succeed? Well, it succeeds because maybe it's got one, a location that's great, or it's got a product that it can sell that no one else gets, or something like that. Rule number two of what I'm looking for to buy into a business is that it's got to be repeat business, because here's my rule: repeat business equals profit. You want to write that down. If you don't have a lot of repeat business, you will not have a lot of profit. If you've got repeat business, you will have profit. Number three rule, it's easy to get team members. It's easy to get people to work for you, and preferably a business where the skill level does not need to be high. Like, I'm not going to go and buy like an architectural firm. I don't want to have high skill levels in businesses. I prefer lower skill levels. I have a commercial cleaning business. Why do I have a commercial cleaning business? It's easy to get people, and I don't have to do a lot of training for them to get them up to speed. Number 8, it must sell a staple product or service. Again, back to commercial cleaning. Why do I want a staple product or service? I want something that people already buy. I want something that people already know they need to buy. They already have a budget for it. They're already doing it. Like, I have a restaurant business. I have a catering business. Do people already know they're going to go out for dinner sometimes? Yes. If they're going to go to a restaurant for dinner, I don't have to convince them to go out. All I have to do is convince them to come to me, if that makes sense. I want a business with staple product or service, preferably a repeat staple product or service. Rule number 5, I invest in cash flow, not assets, meaning I don't want to buy a manufacturing plant with millions of dollars in equipment. I would rather buy, like, if I was to buy a air conditioning manufacturing business, or would I buy an air conditioning installation and service business? Installation and service for sure over manufacturing. That's me. It doesn't have to be you. I'm just telling you my top 8 rules that I follow every single time. Rule number 6, it's got to have a great jockey. Now, I use this because I love horse racing. A great horse with a bad jockey will lose. An average horse with a great jockey has a chance of winning. If I've got an average business with a great CEO or a great manager or a great whatever position you want to call it, it has a great chance of winning. Rule number 8, very important rule, must be my deal. Do the work, okay? It's got to be there. I've got to make sure that if I am to get this, now 50, 10, 3, 1, if you write those numbers down, usually I find you've got to look at 50 deals. Out of 50 deals, about 10 will meet my rules. Out of 10 that meet your rules, you'll probably negotiate on 3 or make offers on 3. If you make offers on 3, you'll probably end up buying 1, okay? Generally 1 in 3 get through due diligence. And number 8, got to have patience. You've got to be willing to walk away. If you're not willing to walk away, then it's a very challenging thing for you. These are my 8 top rules on how you buy businesses where you can make money. Now, do you need to develop your own set of rules? Yes, absolutely. You need to develop your own set of rules. Make sure that you are out there doing it, adding to your own set of rules, learning them. Now, so how do we build a business? Again, I have a whole webinar on this. In fact, team, maybe share the YouTube version of this webinar in the chat, if that's okay, because I know I did a whole webinar on this subject. How do you grow your business? You start with mastery. There's 4 areas of mastery. This is also part of my book. The book is called The Business Coach. The marketing, then there's 5 ways to do the marketing. That brings you stability and cash. Then you build the systems. There's 9 steps to systemization. You build the team, which buys you back your time. That there are 6 keys to a winning team. Then you to get into scale. There are 5 core disciplines of scale. I have books on every one of these areas too, gang. So if you jump on Amazon, you can do those, or get on bradsugars.com, order them direct from bradsugars.com if you want. So the freedom comes when you can either sell the business or keep it because it runs without you. That 6-step formula is what we teach. So watch that webinar as well about how we grow companies, all right? So selling the business, 2 things that we've got to get very clear on. One, and let me be simple math about this, right? If I buy a business and it's got 1 million in profit, okay, and I take that to 2 million in profit, you go from 1 million in profit to 2 million in profit, then what I've just done is double the value of the business at the very minimum. Okay, now the multiplier the multiple, so I multiply the profits. The multiple of profits is what I'm going to get paid. Now, if I have a small operation and someone is buying it from me, and really what they're doing is buying themselves a job. If someone's buying themselves a job, they might pay me 1 or 2 times profits. If, however, I'm selling a bigger business and I'm selling it to a venture capital firm, they might pay me 6, 9, 10 times profits because it's running without there's a management team running the business and making the business make money. These are all things I want you to learn. Again, 30x business, 30x life, 30x wealth is your starting point with me. If you're in a big, successful place right now and you want to come and join one of our masterminds, our Scale to Sale mastermind, it starts at $60,000 to join that mastermind, where you get courses all year long and you attend and learn and all of that, or you can get direct coaching from one of the coaches. Either way, whatever level you're at, I want you to get started. Even if it's just a book, keep the learning going. Second thing, if you're selling a business, you got to pick what niche you're selling into. That helps develop the value of the business. And then finally work out, how do you value a business? What is it for sale for? You see, every business owner has to recognize the fact that you are going to exit the business at some stage. You have to have an exit, whether it's a planned exit where you sell it or hand it over to family or a management buyout or something like that, or a forced exit where it gets shut down or you have to sell it or it gets taken over from you. Then, or even if it's an exit because you pass away, but every one of us is going to have to exit our business at some point. We've got to get clear on, and that's why I run the Scale and Sale mastermind, because I bring together business owners who are learning and growing and building their business in order to be able to position it for sale. On average, it takes about 3 years from when you decide to sell to when you actually sell a business, as long as it's a larger business. Smaller, you can sell faster, but that's really the thing. Now, how do you learn this game? And let's understand this. If you learn the systems, if you put the time, energy, and effort in, then you will get there. The challenge for most people isn't the level of work they're willing to do, it's the level of learning they're willing to do, or not willing to do for that matter. So my question to you is, if you're presented with a faster, easier, and better way, doesn't that just make sense to do it? Like I showed you, there are 6 steps for growing a business. If you don't have a faster, easier, better way to grow your business, you better learn and study that thing. If you're presented with a better way, just follow the better way. The challenge is, as Buzz Aldrin put it, and yes, this was me doing the zero gravity flight with him. It takes constant course correcting and often a lot of zigzagging. Unfortunate things happen, accidents occur, setbacks are usually painful. It does not mean we quit. You're going to have to, travel on that path. You're not going to get there immediately. It's going to take time, energy, and effort, and a lot of zigzagging. So if business is about cash flow, where do we go if we want capital gains? Okay, so that capital growth comes from where? I prefer real estate. I enjoy real estate. I still love the stock market. I still love buying companies. I do all of the above, but real estate is where I prefer for capital growth. Now, let's take a look at it. Number one rule in real estate investing, which is, I guess, for me, the thing that is most important. But unfortunately, most people think real estate is about passive income. Let me share with you the number one reason or the number one rule why real estate is the best. Someone else will always pay for 80% of your asset. Now, it's not always 80%, but if you have to, let's say we buy a piece of real estate, right? You come in, what's your deposit? In most cases, your deposit is around 20% of the value. The cash that you need as your down payment is 20% of the value of the asset. The other 80%, you take a mortgage from the bank, and your tenant that you put into the real estate, they pay the mortgage for you. The tenant pays the mortgage. So if I buy $1 million piece of property, I put in $200,000, I put in a tenant, they pay off the mortgage. Now, it takes 20 years for them to pay off the mortgage on average, right? Some faster, some slower. The rent goes up over time. The value goes up over time on average. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes not. But if you do the research, learn, study, and become good at it, then you buy in areas where it's had traditional capital gain and had traditional rental gains. Hey presto, if it's paid off, right? Forget if it went up in value or not. Forget if the rent went up in value or not. If 20 years from now, the rent income was still the same, the value was still the same, and it's been paid off, that, my friends, is 80% of the value of the asset was paid for by someone else. So your 200 grand is now worth $1 million. That's a 400% return over 20 years. Not bad. Now, if it went up in value as well, and if the rent went up in value as well, because that's usually what happens. See, what usually happens is when the price gets high, people say, oh, I'm not buying anymore, I'm going to rent. So rents start rising. When rents get too high, people go, oh, I'm not renting anymore, I'm going to buy. And then prices go up, and then rent goes up, and the cost of goods go up, which drives up the price of building, which drives... All of these things are what we're looking for. And if I can control the value of the asset with 20% cash, if I put in 20%, I'm controlling $1 million worth of capital gains. That makes sense, right? If I said you can buy shares tomorrow in Apple, just give me 20%, and whatever it goes up over time, you get the full benefit of it. Of course you'd want to do that. This is what kills me, that people don't understand. Now, you can speed up the capital gains, all right? You can speed up the growth of the asset. What I do, I like to buy them, I like to renovate them, and then I redraw my deposit, okay? So my goal is to buy it and buy well. I'm not going to try and pay full price. I'm going to negotiate. I'm going to look. I'm going to hunt for deals. I'm going to buy a good piece of property that's maybe run down, right? You'll see this on TV all the time. I'm going to renovate it. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of money like a lot of the TV shows do, but I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to fix it up. I'm going to paint it, carpet, whatever needs doing to get it to that at about 10% of what I spent to buy it. Then I'm going to go back to the bank and say, hey, I've improved the value of the asset. Rent has gone up. Take a look at the house, get it reappraised. Hey, presto, in many cases, I'll get my deposit back immediately. In other cases, I've got to wait a year or two to get my deposit back. But once I get my deposit or my down payment back, what do? I go and do it all over again. If I get my 200 grand back from that $1 million property, then I go back and do another one. Until eventually you're really wealthy, then you let them all pay themselves down, and hey, presto, you're left with a great retirement with great income and great capital asset value. Ultimately, it's monopoly, okay? You build a bunch of them. As they get a lot of them, then you upgrade to the next level of property, and then you build a bunch, then you upgrade to the next level of property. I'm going to give you a simple example. This group down in New Zealand called Renovations, run by the gentleman in the middle there, Ronnie Hoi Fong. Well, Ron learnt from, I'm thinking it's 20 years ago now that I taught Ron a very simple strategy. Buy a 2-bedroom apartment that has a lot of room in it, like a formal dining room, turn it into a 3-bedroom apartment, and hey, presto, it's increased the rent, increased the value. In his town of Auckland, or city of Auckland, New Zealand, it was a phenomenal strategy. He's gone on to teach it to hundreds and hundreds of people. His students as a group, I am their patron. When I went down and this photo was taken, it was to celebrate them owning $1 billion worth of real estate as a group of students, as a group of investors. Today, they're way ahead of that. And now they're doing 3 bedrooms into 4 bedrooms and so on. They're doing a whole bunch of things, but they're making great. See, if you make the money with business and you manage it with property, you're doing the two sides, cash flow, capital. Your goal is to learn it, then you earn it, then you return it in investments, okay? So if you want to today commit to those dreams and goals, then come learn and plan with me. We've got to take action. We've got to do it. But as the old saying goes, you got to invest, okay? If you want to be rich, you've got to start now. You've got to put in the time, energy, and effort. The glove, Gary Payton, any NBA fans out there? You make sacrifices. You know, if you want to achieve championships, you've got to put in the time, energy, and effort. You've got to put in the work. You've got to learn. You've got to grow. Now, why is this important to understand right now? Number one reason why now is possibly the most important thing is the market forces between inflation, between costs of employees, between the way that the world is, the commoditization of products and services in the world is going faster and faster and faster and faster, okay? The boomer economy, there are more boomer-owned businesses that will be going up for sale in the next 5 years or so. They're all hitting retirement age, okay? So they want to sell. 40% of US employer-based businesses are owned by boomers. They're going to sell them. You need to be ready to buy them when they're ready to sell. And finally, the globalization between virtual employees, virtual assistants, between being able to sell to anyone, anywhere in the world. All of these things are a big part of what is driving this stuff around the world for you, me, and everyone to understand. So if we think about today, okay, now we've, as I said, we get 90 minutes together today. That's it. I've tried to cram in as much as possible. And looking at building your wealth plan, even if you just use 1 or 2 of the things that I've taught you here, or you take 1 or 2 ideas away, then I believe it's going to help you with building your family's wealth plan, okay? But I didn't know what you knew about us today, all right? I don't know where you came to me from or where you started, or if you've been studying with me for 20 years, or if you're brand new to me today. Either way, the reality is some of this stuff should help, okay? The success formula, the growth formula for you as an entrepreneur, how we actually create wealth through business, how we create wealth through real estate, okay? See, so far today, I have to ask you a few questions. Has it been enjoyable, value? I started promising you clarity and confidence on your path to creating wealth. Have you come up with some ideas? Has it got you thinking? Is it getting you more excited about going after it? Do you understand that there is a pathway to this that you can follow? See, I believe that by learning from me, reading the books, doing the study, whether it's my online courses, whether it's coming to one of the live courses, whether it's investing in our major programs, whatever it is, I believe there's a level of learning that's going to help you. And I've got so much confidence in everyone that comes to learn. Why? Because if you're a learner, it's easy to have confidence in you. If you're a reader, a studier, a learner, if you get on podcasts, if you're on my podcast, wherever you're on, whether it's on Spotify or Apple or on YouTube, dive in, listen. I bring in some of the best success people. Now, if that would be a worthy way to do it by yourself, if that was the only option. But if there was another option, if there was a way for you and me to do this together, if there was a way for us to say, okay, let's do more than one measly visit together. Let's do more than that. What if I could make a difference to you on a daily basis? What if for the next 90 days, in fact, you and I had lunch together? How much could it change the way you do things? What would happen? Well, here's the thing. If I could stack the deck in your favor, if I could give you all of the additional support, the systems, everything that you needed, if there was an option for you to get all of that, and quite frankly, to get the success you deserve, then wouldn't that be something that's worth looking into? Of course, you're sitting there going, yes, of course I want to learn about it, Brad. Well, here's what it is. It's the 90X program. It's 90 days to change the way your brain works around the subject of business, life, and wealth. 90 days for you and me to have lunch together. The next 90 days. Now, it's recorded, so you can have lunch wherever you're at in the world at whatever time you want to. But here's the thing of it. If I can give you my 30 years knowledge of running businesses, creating success, and teaching and doing the whole building of wealth, if I can in the next 90 days do that with you, see, remember that studio I built during COVID? That's what I did. I spent 90 days in that studio filming everything that I could teach about this stuff. So 30X for your life, 30X success, all of the success formulas I've ever got to learn is yours for the understanding over 30 days, 15 hours of you and me. You'll get to learn it, okay? Here's the subjects that we teach in that one there. 30 straight days of you and me talking about everything from how to get a quality of life, what's the formula for change, how do you build an identity, taking you into the success stuff. Then business, 30 days of you and me on business. Imagine if you could follow in the footsteps. Now, there's 280,000 business owners following this system. I want you to be the next of them. I want you to understand the distinctions and the power of how you grow a business. My formula, the methodology to do that. Again, here's the whole thing. We're going to cover systems, marketing. We're going to go through sales. We're going to go through building a great team, leadership, all the different aspects that bring you the knowledge you need. 30 days of lunch talking about business, then 30 days of wealth. Now, what you're doing during each of these 30 days is starting to build your plan. Build your life plan, build your business plan, build your wealth plan for you, your future family, okay? How are you going to do that? Now, you don't have to do a lot in the next 90 days other than learn. I don't expect you to implement a lot. I expect you, though, to learn and start planning, as I said the formula was. Again, here, we're going to talk about the thinking of wealth. We're going to talk about the strategies behind wealth. How does wealth actually happen? What is it? I'm going to spend a whole half hour teaching about those seasons and how to recognize what season the economy is in. Whew. So 3 plans, 90 days. That's you and me together, and that's what we're going to do. You see, tens of thousands of students have come through my trainings over the years. I would love to help you. I would love to be there to assist you in growing this whole thing and to what you can do to create your wealth and your future. See, if you think of 90 days from now, if we spend a half hour together every day, imagine what level of knowledge. Now, it could be, if you listen on 1.5 speed, kind of like I do, it's only 20 minutes a day. But take the notes, build the plans. That's what we're aiming to do, help you grow. And if you own your own business currently, then of course you'll get immediate results out of doing this whole thing. If you've got investments currently, of course you'll get immediate results out of applying it. But as Tony says, you got to schedule it. You got to schedule. Yes, that is young me and young Tony at his resort Namale in Fiji with a couple other friends 20-something years ago. Anyway, I go back a long way in this industry in case you didn't notice. But growing this whole thing. Now, what's your investment in this whole process? How much is it that I want you to invest in this whole thing? Well, here's the thing. We set a price during COVID and I've kept it till today. I'm not sure if we'll keep it much longer. In fact, the team have been harassing me about saying, boss, we've got to change the price structure of this thing because we're just giving it away. See, if I said to you, it's $1 million and it made you back $1 million, of course you go, yep, but it's worth hundreds of millions in the right hands, not in a week or a day, but over time, it's definitely worth that. Or if I said to you, okay, it's 100 grand to enroll right now today, and if it made you that 100 grand back, that'd be a fair exchange, right? If I got it back to you quickly, or if I said, hey, 20 grand, what if I could teach it to you and then in short order, you made the 20 grand back? All of these things make sense for it to be easy for you. In fact, what if all three plans were just 3 grand? $29.97. The original, this is what I wanted to charge for it before COVID. Well, we didn't we said during COVID, we just need to help everybody. Plus, you got to understand my vision, world abundance through business re-education. If my goal is to create the most success I can, then I want to do it at cost coverage. Cost coverage, running my team, keeping the websites up and running, doing all the stuff. I'm going to do it for you for $297. Simple thing for you to decide on. The link, we'll put it in the chat window for you right now. Dive in, join us, come learn. But best of all, in fact, if you're one of the first 10 people who sign up today now, of course, this is on multiple platforms. We're streaming across YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We're streaming on everything, right? If you're one of the first 10, though, that enroll, I will have an extra special bonus for you. You win that you will get notified for. If you're already in, if you're not already in, let me do it this way. Instead of the first 10, anyone who's inside the next 2 minutes will get that special bonus because I'm not sure, I can't see from here. I'm just presenting. I can't see how many we've already got. So you're going to be a part of not only that, but you're going to get an extra bonus. We do the group challenge calls. Every day you can join the group call and discuss what you learned, ask questions of the coaches, and learn how to apply from other people asking questions. You're going to get to join a monthly Q&A calls with me, okay? So that's where you get to join. Let me just go back a click. That's where you get to join with all of the other alumni, get to meet with people, learn, grow together, join the community of those learning. Whew. That community joins online. We have a whole group of people join the tribe. You'll be sent links to join that tribe and become a part of it where you can ask questions, answer questions, get value, give value, okay? But that learning doesn't just stop there. It goes for years. That 297, it's not a do it once and get there. And also, if you are a business owner, I'm going to buy you a session with one of my action coach team. They're valued at $997 for their initial consulting session with a business. If a business owner goes to them, it's $997. I will buy that for you for free. I own the company. My coaches will do that with you. They'll take you through the 90-day power play. They will take you through what it works for your business. All right. You can do that right now, or you can do that later on if you join. So there's the list of everything that you will get as a part of this whole thing. Now, there's been direct messages on some platforms of questions for me. So I'm going to go to those questions as soon as I can. Few final points I want to point out, though, about this whole growth thing. Not only do you get all of the training programs and all of the calls and join the tribe and all of that sort of stuff, but what you get is a very powerful guarantee from us to you. Okay, our guarantee to you is very dang simple. Our guarantee is this. Okay, because you can't know it's for you until you get inside. Like, you don't buy a house by walking up to the front of the house and going, yep, this is it. You got to get inside. The same is true for us. So I don't want you to make a decision now. I want you to join. And once you've been with us for 30 days, make a decision to keep it or not. If you don't believe that there's 10 grand's worth of money making, life altering, and wealth building content, just shoot us a note. We'll refund your money. You can keep all the learning. That's up to you. I don't want you to take a risk. I want you to say, hey, Brad, put your money where your mouth is. So I am. All right. So join, come in 30 days, make your decision if you're going to stay. And hey, presto, that's the way we work. It's pretty dang simple. We don't want anyone to be upset by anything. We want everyone to love what we're doing. So imagine 90 days from now, okay? Yes, I guarantee the first 30 days, but imagine 90 days from now where your brain is going to be if we do half an hour together every day for 90 days. Now, you can also every day join another chat session for another half hour to an hour and ask things. So you can do a full hour a day or an hour and a half a day, depending upon where it is. If you've got that entrepreneurial instinct, just get out there and do it. Lord Sugar, gotta love the man. He actually, when I was doing this interview with him, and he asked me at the end of it, did you just change your name just to get the interview with me? Gotta love billionaires. They're straight to the point, huh? So finishing up today, I'll get to the questions in just a moment. As if you're in the maybe category, okay, usually I find maybe is because of one of three things, okay, and I'm not sure where you're at, but if you're still in the maybe, I want you to take action now. If you're in maybe because of time and you go, oh, Brad, I don't have the time. Look, if you created a list of the top 10 things you're doing to create success and wealth and business success in your life, and you went through and ranked them in order and said, you know what, I'll just cross out number 10 and put in Brad Sugars, then that's where you do it. You find the time, you make the time. You don't have time. You make time for what's important out there in your life. It might be about the finances. Listen, I get it. Money is, you've got a certain amount of money. It doesn't matter how much money you got. You all have a certain amount. So take the time, dive in. If it's not for you, then in 30 days, we'll give you your money back. You probably won't have even paid your credit card before then, if that makes sense, okay? Invest in your future. And finally, you're not sure if it'll work for you. Unless a friend referred you to us, then you're probably going, I don't really know if this is going to work. Listen, again, get in, get going. 30 days from now, you can make that decision as to whether it's working for you or not, okay? 30 days, you can make the decision. One of our great leaders of all time, Mikhail Gorbachev, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. If what you've done yesterday still looks big to you, you haven't done much today. Bringing the world together. Great job, him and Ronald Reagan back in the day. So if you're sitting there with fear and excitement, fantastic. Excitement's got to win, though. You can't let fear win. Fear keeps you where you are. You got to let excitement win more often than not. My greatest teacher, a gentleman by the name of Jim Rohn, E. James Rohn. Never wish life were easier, wish you were better. Dang, when he taught me that at 16, it just changed my whole philosophy. Number 2, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And number 3, he said it to me when I ran down to him at the end of the seminar and said, Mr. Rohn, will you sign my book? He signed my book. And I said, what's one thing I can do as a 16-year-old boy to guarantee I'm successful? He said, son, it's simple. Read a book a week for the rest of your life. And that's what I've done. Thousands of books later, here we are. If you can outlearn me, you can out-earn me. That's pretty easy. So Will.i.am, fun guy. But this was after he opened for U2 at their massive stadium tour. There are no problems that can't be solved. The world is too full of options. If you can't solve the problems because you haven't found the right option, but the answer is always there. The answer is in front of you. Let's get moving. Let's get going. Stevie Irwin, actually, was it this weekend? Yeah, just last weekend, we had the whole ball here in Las Vegas. The one down the bottom there is when it was in LA last year. And yes, that's me, the crazy one, feeding a crocodile up there. But that's my kids and his kids when we were all tiny with Terry there. But as he said, education is about being excited about something. Seeing passion and enthusiasm helps push the educational message. In case you hadn't noticed, I'm excited to teach you this stuff. So there's the list. It's everything you need to get yourself moving. 90 days of massive shift in your life. The next 90 days, the next 3 months is going to make a massive shift. The greatest prime minister, I believe, in Australian history. I got to know him, introduce him, do speeches with him. Prime Minister Howard. You can't fatten the pig on market day. You can't wait until it's time to make a deal to get ready for it. You got to get ready for the deal now. And one of my other great mentors, Dr. Frederick I. Carencott, Reverend Ike. Nothing decisive will happen in your life until you really make a decision. Gotta love Reverend Ike. Gotta love the way he teaches and the things that he. Luckily, I got the privilege of learning from the great Reverend. Whew, we are done, and done. So time for questions. Let's go. Let's see what we got. Okay, direct ask questions. Brad, I'm struggling at getting sales in my business. Okay, All right, so it's more of a lead flow problem is what they're asking for. Dang, it doesn't tell me what type of business. So, all right, here's what marketing is all about. Marketing is about taking a certain amount of money and buying customers, meaning if I spend $1,000 on an ad and I get 100 new customers and I get 10 new customers, it costs me $100 each to buy them. So what we're aiming to do is create people that raise their hand. So whether it's social media, like me doing this webinar here today, there'll be people who raise their hand who registered for the webinar. We'll use the copy of the webinar and we'll say, hey, if you want a copy of the webinar, come do it. We'll get people to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested. Then our job is to nurture those people until they get to a point of saying, hey, I'm ready. Okay, there's interested and then there's ready. And that's what marketing is all about. So we're really making sure that we do that. Oh yeah, the team's just asked me to put this up. If you do want more information about the Scale and Sale Mastermind, there's the email address for you to go to. So if you want more info on that, click that email and write to the team. Okay, next question. Getting the business to work without me. Oh. So essentially, it's how do I replace myself? You know, replacing yourself in business is not a short-term thing, especially if you've built the business around yourself. If you've sort of made you the central theme to the business, then yeah, it's going to take work to transition that through that one of the other team members can do that. All right. So if you've got to make sure that you build the people, build the systems, then you build a business that can work, and then you can train and add in someone. It took me quite a long time to learn this in the beginning because, again, I hadn't run a business in the beginning. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have a business coach because they didn't exist, I guess, was probably the main reason. But make sure that you are a learner, you build systems, you build people, and hey, presto, they'll be able to run the business without you. Whew. All right, team. I think we're done for the day. I know there's a few other questions in there. I'll get my team to type answers to all of you that have the other questions. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe, whatever you need to do to keep coming back, keep your learning growing. If you haven't jumped on the podcast yet, hit the Big Success Podcast. I'm Brad Sugars. Look forward to chatting to you again soon. Hit bradsugars.com. Make sure you follow us and learn everything. Get on the newsletter, keep the learning going. I look forward to seeing you learn, you grow so that we can create great businesses together. Bye for now.